Hey, how are you? I'm fine. How about you? Waiting for an answer. Anyway, hello everyone. Spawnerlaxy 15 here. I know it's been a while since you seen a video from me, and I have my reasons. That's not true. I was just lazy. Now, the first thing that you might notice is, well, first of all, I'm not even centered. Hey, look, I'm centered now. Well, like I said, the first thing you might notice is this, not a background. The surroundings are different. It's because for once I decided to record myself from my desk instead of my bed. Because yes, before all of those videos you've seen before were recorded on my bed. I think even one of them I was still in my pajama. Anyway, no, sadly, this does not mean that I have a proper setup for recording. I literally just putting my phone next to my pencil case, next to one of my pencil case, and just put it there. And I have to admit that it's kind of much better than on my bed. Learning is way better. But anyway, that's not the subject of today. Last time I made a two-part video in which I was talking more about myself. I think the first one was about my personality, I think, and the second one was more about my life, if I'm right. So today, while I was thinking out loud in my bedroom, since there's no one and no sound at all, I started thinking back of my 2-year experience at a safari park, Parc Safari, I think. Parc Safari. Yeah, that's about it. So basically, the lore about this is the first ever job I did was working at Parc Safari in Montreal, Hemingford, in Quebec. I did this for 2 years, well, 2 summers, and I remember that it was quite the experience, especially with the pandemic going on. So I thought, hey, maybe I could turn this into a video. So that's what we're doing today. I don't think it's gonna be as long as the one where I talk about my two last videos, or the ones that are an hour long, or maybe it even passed by that time. Who knows? Who really knows? So I decided that I wanted to do this. So sit back, relax, and I guess enjoy the video. So if only I could make transitions, that would be perfect. So the first thing I want to talk about is we're gonna have to start with the basic. To anyone, for any reasons, who doesn't know what Parc Safari is, it's basically a zoo, but mostly outside. The one that I worked at, is called Parc Safari, I think, of Montreal, Hemingford, in Quebec. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's kind of close by of Lacolle. So look at Google Map or something. So I worked there, and the way that this place was working was, well, basically, I personally haven't worked in the whole facility of the thing, if I can say that. It's most of the park is most of the attractions, are located outside. There are very few places where you can go inside as a client, where instead where if you're an employee, you have plenty of place you can go inside, if you know what I mean. So the place where I was working was in the Safari Adventure, which is the part of the park which is that is done in a car, or well, yes, in a car. Basically, you have a circuit, a very long circuit that goes all around some kind of around a big, really big enclosure. This enclosure is divided in different sections. I don't remember because it's been quite a long time, 5 to 6 months or something, that I've been there, so I don't remember exactly. But it's a parkour that is divided in different sections, and each section has different animals in it. And the reason for why they aren't all together is very obvious, but also pretty unknown, if you know what I mean. So you do the whole thing in a car. Car is specifically because you have to be in a place where you're inside the vehicle. You can't be outside during the COVID, at least. So yeah, I was working there. While working, I was mostly like watching over the stuff to make sure that nothing bad happens. Like in there, basically, I was in a kind of watchtower. It's not a tower at all. It's just a few steps and you're in it. But so pretty simplistic. There is the way that it works is fairly. I'm so off the topic right there. I'm sorry. I'm bad in English. I need to get back on track. So yeah. Okay, whatever. In short, I was working there. I was working at the car section of the park. To be honest, the places that I was mostly at were in the well, I was at some kind of interesting places. I was at the first section, the one when you enter and get out of the Safari Adventure. Sometimes I was somewhere else. Fairly complicated to explain it all the way here. I'm also going to do it later on. So that was it. So to talk about how I got it, basically, when I first started working there in 2020, when I finished going to school, and the main reason is because I had to work, because I think most of the years prior to that 2020, I was going to summer camp to spend the summer days by doing something with people, how we used to do before. So I was doing that, and at some point I just didn't want to go there because I was mostly too old to go there. And I didn't want it to be a monitor either, so I chose to not go. Then at some point for one summer, I spent a whole summer at my house alone because my parents were still working. And at first, for most people, and apparently for me, this was kind of useful because it gave me it allowed me to gain weight. Because before that, I was pretty skinny, to be perfectly honest. I could, when people you can see your rib cage when when people are really skinny and you can see their rib cage without just normally without even them doing anything. I was kind of like that. I wasn't that, but I was close to that. And the fact that I spent an entire summer alone at my house, since I'm lazy, you know what that gives. I got a bit fatter, but to myself, apparently, this was, I don't know the word for this. I think it's gratifiant, whatever. It was good for me because I gained weight, and so apparently it looked a lot better on me. The thing with me also is the fact that I'm going a bit off topic there, is I'm tall, kind of tall. I'm 6 feet 1 or 2 something, 6 feet 1 or something. I'm pretty tall, and so the fact that I'm tall makes so that if I get fatter, it's not really visible physically, but but I still get heavy. So basically, what I mean is that my belly doesn't really get bigger if I gain weight. It just doesn't really appear, but it is there. It is there. It just doesn't look like it, and that's a problem I'm trying to fix at the moment. But anyway, so I got that, and if we keep going, after that, my parents and I myself didn't wanted me to keep staying at home and just do nothing for a whole 2 to 3 months, 2 months and a half. At my house doing nothing but playing video games and eating chips. Those were not the good old days. It was boring, but anyway, stay on track. At some point, I had to choose a career, something to do as a work. So I did so, and at first I didn't really know what I could want to do as a career. At first, I kind of liked the idea of making video games, but when I finished my Sec 5 and I graduated, I found out that I'm bad in math, and that if you want to do programming, you have to be good in math. So I decided that I was not going to be good at doing that. So I scrapped that idea and took the path of my second idea, which was working with animals. Now, working with animals is a pretty diverse word, if you know what I mean. Like, my idea of working with animals was mostly like taking care of them, things like that. And then my father gave me the idea told me that I could work at a Parc Safari, since there was one close to where we were, because at some point me and my mother moved out of our old house and went to L'École to live there until we would buy this house right here. And so basically, from where we were, there was a Parc Safari nearby. So I was like, hey, that's not that bad of an idea at all. So me and my mother, actually, that was now in the time of the pandemic. So there's the quarantine, stuff like that. So the thing with like the interviews are, so basically, to get there, you had to watch I think you had to watch a video, an information video of the Parc Safari member staff that would describe what things you could do there as a job. So basically, it's like you have to complete a bunch of sheets of papers in which it's like kind of a CV. But yeah, you basically had to complete these sheets of papers, and you would have to send it to them by mail, and they would receive it, and then he would give you a call to tell you, okay, you might be, I think the meaning is at 10 whatever. So I went there, and I can't really say what I did this because that was long ago. So yeah, that's about it. So I got it. I got the job, and the first year I'm gonna pass by all of the learning stuff at the beginning, like, oh, you have to do this and this and that. And just gonna go to the point. So basically, like I said, I worked there for 2 summers, 2020 and 2021, and the first year was, well, when in it wasn't too bad, but compared to 2021 summer, the second time was way better than the first time. Mainly for one of the main reasons I hated the first summer was because of the rules, sanitary rules. Basically, over there, the way that it was working was that I don't know how exactly it worked before, like normally, because I've never worked there outside of like in COVID times. So basically, people had to stay in the car. That's okay. They couldn't have the windows open. That's the main issue. The windows could only be opened. I don't know how much it was. It was like it was about this this big. This could be open at this much, and it was so annoying to make sure that people wouldn't open their freaking windows all the time. Like in the second summer, there was still something like this but instead it was just like vehicle doors and stuff like that. Then back then was freaking windows, and I don't think you guys can actually understand how people can be so damn idiots about this. I don't care if I insult someone, they're so damn annoying. Like the worst type of people weren't even the ones that like, oh, shut up, I don't care. These weren't that bad. The worst people, in my opinion, were the ones that you would tell them something, like you will tell them the rules, like please keep your windows open. You can only open your windows about this size, this open. And it would be like, oh yes, that's fine. And then you would see them at the end of the road, and they would have all their freaking windows all wide open. And you would be like, almost every day I was like that. The thing with me also was that since I was at the entrance of the safari adventure, I had to when it was required, I had to warn every single client of this. And that was back in the time where I didn't like to, well, I'm still like this a bit, but that was back in the time where I didn't like to move a lot, or like stay like standing up for an extended period of time. That was around that time, and I didn't like that at all, because I would almost constantly get from other employees who were higher, like, you know, were higher than me, who were like, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do that, oh, you shouldn't sit down. Like, man, leave me alone, let me do it. At the end of the second summer, I understand this, why, because, you know, but back then I was like, this is so annoying, I'm gonna have to quit, bro. It's So most of the first summer was about this. I was constantly asking people to not open their windows full, getting out of their freaking car. There was also another type of issues where the people, well, it was most of the people, like sometimes the first summer wasn't too bad about this, but like sometimes people would like come in with vans, you know, the one with the sliding doors. They would come in with this, and they would have their freaking doors open like this. And that happened so many times. That's probably the thing that happened the most of all. And they weren't the worst. The worst type of people in this were the people who would just get out of their car. Those were the absolute worst. But still, the windows were the most annoying. The one who got out of their cars were the worst in general. And yeah, there's also a bit, the first summer there was also a bit of people, some people who were in pickup trucks, and he would stand in the box in the open box at the back of the truck, and all the time he would be like, oh, sorry, you can't do this, and he would all just like start being angry at you, like, but what the hell, man, there's the people at the entrance didn't told me about this, what am I supposed to do? I also have to, and that's sort of thing really weird, the people at the employees at the entrance of the park, I don't know what they were doing at their job. I don't even know if they were doing their job, but every single time we were asking people, especially the one in the back of the pickup trucks, every time we were asking them to get down, to get out, to get inside, because they couldn't, they would always say, oh, but the people at the entrance didn't warn us about this. So and then you would have to guess that they entered the park in the back of the pickup truck, and they didn't see anything. What the hell, man? So yeah, that was pretty much about it for the clients, the visitors in the first summer. Honestly, if I had to compare the first and the second summer in general, I would say the second was way better than the first one. I got to do a lot more things. Yeah, that's about it. The first summer I was probably actually mostly restricted to the tower in the first section of the safari adventure, which meant that I would see the same boring things as always. Now, if you want to talk now, I mean, I guess like if I talk about Safari Park, you will also think about animals, and yes, there are animals over there. I know it's shocking, right? But being at the position that I was not really. I wouldn't really that often interact with them. Mostly because people would tell me. Mostly because also it was the pandemic, so we weren't really allowed to touch the animals for obvious reasons. So yeah, I didn't really interacted with any animals the first summer. The funniest thing is that the entrance of the safari park is right. Well, actually, like over there are two elephants, and their outside enclosure is right next to the entrance. Is right at the start of the safari adventure. So like basically there's literally an elephant enclosure right next to the entrance of the safari adventure. So I'm basically next to it. And the first summer, I think the first summer they didn't let the elephants out too much. I think the first summer they didn't really let the one that is right next to the entrance too much outside because of some reasons that I don't remember. I think it was security ones. So most of the interesting things weren't there, and I was kind of glad that it wasn't there the first time, because then I would be really annoyed if I knew what would happen in the second summer. But yeah, there were, like I said, the first summer I wasn't really allowed anywhere else, so I did anything that interesting, to be perfectly honest. The only thing other than that I did was a thing that was a kind of bridge that went around somewhere. There was also a platform at the end of the summer that they reopened, because the first time they closed it because of the giraffes. But the small bridge was always open, and that was the worst thing ever. Not joking. At least they're not even counting the heat in the summer. That's awful. I hate summer, by the way. But yeah, the little bridge. I say bridge because in French we see la passerelle, but I don't know how to say that in English, so I won't say it in English because I can't. So we would do that. I would do that, and basically the only interesting thing about that bridge was the fact that the rhinoceros enclosure is right in front of it. So when he's outside, you can see him, and that's nice. There are also the cheetah's enclosure on the other side. That was also nice, even though they didn't really do anything. But yeah, the main thing about that place I didn't like was the fact that you had to constantly stay up. Like, compared to the towers, you could sit in the towers, but there you had to stand up the entire freaking time. Well, I mean, you could sit, but the main reason for why they didn't want any place to sit down was because they didn't want it logically, they basically didn't want the visitors to sit or like to climb onto the ramps, the fences on the sides. So if an employee sits there, it gives the impression that clients can sit there, but they can't. So they don't want the employees to sit there, just so they can't give a bad impression about, oh, we can sit there then. Yeah, that was pretty boring as a place in general. At first, when I began, I was pretty excited. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But around after like 2 weeks, it was like, can something happen, please? So that's really for the first year, the first summer. That was about it. In terms of what happened over there. I met a bunch of people that I saw again. They were again there. They were still there the next summer, but in general, not that memorable. Second summer, on the other hand, ooh, that was interesting. So basically, second summer began about the same way. I I began it. I started going there right after I finished the school. Summer was coming, so I went there immediately, and it was way more interesting than the first time. So I did mostly the same things, except that probably because I was a bit more like, how do we say that? But I guess that because I was a bit more like adapted to the things that were there, they allowed me to do a bit more things over there. Like I could do something else, something other than like bring dumb buckets of food in the back of a truck. That was annoying, and it still is. But anyway, so the other tasks that I could do, I could help get the food other than the stupid buckets of food. I had to clean, classic. That's about it, actually. But yeah, that's about it. The only actual time where I started doing more things like tasks about like keeping the clay, like not entertaining. In French we say entretien. I don't remember where it is, but anyway, it was mostly at the end of my work section that I started doing this, because I finished. I decided that I wouldn't go back to school after I graduated. So basically, when the school restarted in around like September, most of the people went away, went away because they had to go to school, but I didn't, so I stayed because I didn't have to go to school. Duh. So I had to do a lot more things than normal, since we were a lot less. Since there were a lot less people than normal. But yeah, that's about it for the task about this. In terms of in the safari adventure, I was still there. I did a lot less of the little bridge. That's amazing. And that's actually mainly because they decided that it wasn't really necessary to have someone on the bridge at all times. Yeah. So they mainly decided that there was only going to be one person around there, because normally in 2020 they put it two people on the little bridge, because the platform wasn't open there yet. But then they would put two people. Then after a while, they opened back the platform, and then it would always be one person on the bridge and one person on the platform. But in the second summer, there was nobody on the bridge. They mainly only just put it one person on the platform, and that's it, because that's where most people would go, actually, and that's also the place where that was also because that was the place that required the most attention from someone. So my second summer was mostly split into two places: the platform and in the safari adventure. On the platform, I have to say I didn't quite like it. It was pretty annoying. It was like the bridge, you wouldn't be able to. You were allowed to sit down, but only when there weren't people around, because to give a good look. Nah. I'll never understand that. But anyway, you were, at least this time, you were allowed to sit down. Like even at some point they made so that there was something to sit on over there, just so you wouldn't be sitting on the ground. And also when it was like when it was raining, you were allowed to be you could take an umbrella. At some point, also really cool, the two persons came and built a kind of stand on the platform to sell salad. So basically, the way it works is that the platform is right next to a section of the Safari adventure that is called the plains. In that place, there are the giraffes, which are really nice. There are the gazelles, the zebras. Actually, that's about it. There's also the rhino, but he's in a separate enclosure in that place. For reasons that I will say later, don't worry about it. That's interesting. So yeah, and the main attraction of the platform was that you could see. It was also the elephant's enclosure was also right next to it. It's only one of them. The other one was mostly the other ones had its enclosure most closer to the entrance of the safari adventure, so people could see it. Which is another thing I'm going to talk later about. Don't worry about it. So the main attraction of this place is mostly the giraffes, because you could give them food, mostly like salad. I saw them. I'm never gonna see the salad ever the same ever again. Anyway, you could feed them salad, and it was pretty fun. It looked really fun. It's also really nice. Also, did you know that giraffes had freaking long tongue? It's really weird, but it's also incredible. But anyway, it's that time. Anyway, so the thing with that is that you have the main thing to watch for on the platform was for people to not climb on the fences. I think not yell, not give any food that is not authorized to animals. Basically, the food that you could give was only green vegetables like salad, celery. Is that the word for this? Only green vegetables, so carrots, stuff like that. You couldn't give them. And that wasn't that bad of an issue, actually. What was the most annoying thing about that place? I don't remember. Anyway, so that's that. And at some point, some people came and built a stand for other people in the safari staff, because the staff is separated in different kind of groups for different part of the parks. Like there was the people. Like there were the employees who were responsible for the animals. I think like the safari staff. There were the feline staff, which was another part of the park that was relied to the safari adventure, but in another way. There was the selling staff. I think that's about it. There's also the pool staff, stuff like that. So they built a stand for members of the selling staff to come there and sell salad to the visitors, so they can give the salad to the giraffes. It was nice. Like at least it would give the person on the platform some company when there's no one around. Obviously, at some point, I think I was one of the factors of this. It would be a downgrade to the employee, to the person on the platform, because it would get distracted with the other person, and wouldn't be on the lookout for the things that he would have to be watching over. Like I said, I think I'm one of the reasons for why they did this. Anyway, so that's about it for that place. But yeah, now if I go to the safari adventure, this time was a lot more interesting. Sorry again. This year, the elephant who was in the enclosure next to the entrance of the safari adventure was outside, which was, in a way, is really nice. You know, have you ever seen an elephant like 5 feet next to your face? I don't think so, but it's pretty impressive to see in real time. His name was Jano, by the way, an amazing name. He is also the heaviest African elephant in North America. In all of the North America, he's the heaviest African elephant in the whole country, which is amazing. In the whole continent, I mean. So yeah, that's about it. But yeah, this guy, because he's a guy, was a freaking pain in the ass at first. So the thing with him is that he's old, okay? And the thing with this is all related. Before, I wasn't working there before, but a pretty long while ago, people were allowed to feed the elephant, not directly, but by throwing food into his enclosure. The thing with this is that this elephant is pretty much of an asshole, literally. Even my boss said so, and he is one of the only person in the park who is able to control him. For his very serious and very specific and pretty impressive reason. Basically, my boss was one of the only person who was allowed to get close to Jano, because to the elephant's eyes, he was of his stature. Basically, he had this, I don't know how to say this. But like, the elephant wasn't afraid of him, but he respected him. Basically, like, he respected him, basically. So he was the only one to be actually allowed to get really close to the elephant. Because to the elephant's eyes, he was the only one to actually like scare him a bit. I don't know if that's actual terms, whatever. He was the only one to be able to be allowed to approach him. And the thing with this was that, anyway, so at some point people were allowed to throw food, but the thing with this elephant is that he's an asshole. And basically, if you gave him something, and something that someone told me over there is that, like I said, people were allowed to throw food to him, to give him food, but the problem was that at some point he got used to it, and then he started asking for food. But you know, sometimes people don't have food or don't want to give food to him, so he would get angry and he would get frustrated and start throwing things at the clients. I think it was like sometimes it was poop, rocks, branches, anything he could find. He would throw it at them as some kind of a message, probably saying like, "Give me food or I'll kill you." So they decided to unallow the clients to give food to the elephant because of that reason. So getting back to what I was talking about, like I said, still to this day, people aren't allowed to give food to the elephant, and it will probably stay like this for forever. So basically, as the person who was spending the most time in that section, I had to, well, since most of the other animals weren't doing anything that weird, he was the main thing I had to watch for. I had to look for. So with him, I basically had to make sure that people and we basically have to make sure that people wouldn't give food to him, or simply even getting close to him. Because you should know that this elephant is actually, elephants are dangerous. Well, in the case of the 2 elephants they had there at the time, he was mainly the only one who was dangerous. The other elephant was a lot more calm and collected, but he was an asshole, like he kept saying. And because of that, his enclosure were, I think, steel pillars with copper cables, and with copper cables for a fence, and were also electrified. Well, I mean, most of the fences of the park are electrified, but this guy had the most fortified enclosure in the whole park. So yeah, so he wasn't even allowed to touch this because it would hurt. So I had to watch watch over the elephant to make sure that nobody throws food at him. That's about it, actually. But the thing with him is that he decides what he wants to do. So basically, most of the time, elephants are intelligent. I bet you didn't know this. I know it's rare. Nobody knows this. But the thing with this is that him is like, if he sees that nobody gives him food, he will go away on its own. Like she's gonna go in one of the corners of his enclosure and stay there for a while. After that, at some point, he's gonna come back to the side of his enclosure that is next to the road where he knows that people can give him food. So he goes there, and then if he sees people, he's gonna stay there, stare at the fence, literally until someone does something or nothing. Most of the time, nothing, because someone watches over this, and he will then go on again and repeat the cycle. But the thing is that is at least that's nice. It's like you get a bit of a resting point when he goes away. But my strategy was that when he would come by close to the fence, I would have to get up and stand on the side of the road to kind of close to where he is, to make sure, basically to tell the clients who were coming to not throw food at the elephant. It was not that annoying. It was mostly when it was hot. When it was hot or sunny, then it would be annoying. But other times it was just nice. We were just walking around. Sometimes I couldn't. I asked if the elephant understand the words that we're speaking, and I got my answer, which was no. But he does understand some words, which are basically words that are used to talk, to tell him basic things like come up, let's go, move up, stuff like that, to make him move. So yeah, sometimes I would just be talking to him like a weirdo, but I felt like he was listening. Sometimes. Yeah, that's about it for that thing. About the visitors this time, yeah. So the visitors, the second summer, weren't as well. The thing that they did was more diverse. Since this time the rules were less strict. The window thing wasn't there anymore. Like they could have their window fully open. That didn't matter at all. Nobody cared about that. The thing that we had to watch for was mostly, some people kept telling me that visitors can be like, when some cars can have an openable ceiling. Well, some people, mostly one person who didn't really know what he talked about, kept telling me that people can do that. Like they can be outside of they can't stand outside of the ceiling window. But most people, which is what I believed, actually what I got to believe, was that people can go out like seek out like at their something like their head, or the like they can't go out from the ceiling window in the car, but like they can't be sitting on the top of the car, like like you got up at the window, you just sit on there. They can't they can't do that, but they can just simply like just be outside and look. They can't do that. Another thing that was annoying, that one was the most annoying, was again the sliding doors of the vans. That was kind of comparable to the windows in the first summer, but in a less aggressive way. Because like a lot of that, like it's again it was the most of the thing, like the people at the entrance didn't told us that we couldn't have this open. Another thing that was, I don't remember what it was, but I think it's like at some point the thing though this was really funny sometimes, because like people would come by, they would have like a door open or something, and someone, mostly me, would ask him, you'll have to you'll have to keep your doors closed. And then and then they would have, and then some people, not all of them, would come, like some people would come and be like, oh, but what are you talking about? I was like this the whole time, and nobody to no sorry, some people were like, oh, sorry, my doors can be closed. And then when you think about this, you're in your head, wait, is that guy serious? So then I remember one guy being like this. I don't know if I let him go, because it was like, and then he just went away because he didn't care. He's an asshole. It was like, what? No, that's not true. Actually, I was actually like, what does this mean? I just kept arguing that he had to get his door closed, and he closed it eventually. But those were pretty fun moments. Like people were like, oh, but we can't close the thing. Well, sometimes it was a bit understandable. Like the car didn't had, the car didn't had the AC in there. You seen it. Sometimes also it was really dumb, because like another pretty dumb thing that happened most often than the guy with the door I can't close them, was people arrived and they were like, oh, but we can't open the windows in the AC. We don't have the AC. And it was a van, by the way. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry, man, but that's the rules. And they would close the door, and like at the end of the like at the corner, they would just open their freaking windows. They would open the windows. No, never mind. They would open the windows of the front seats, but they were like, but we can't open the windows of the side of the sliding doors. Who cares, bro? Your kids can look at the window. They're not blind at this point. Yeah, that's about it. People were more like, the thing that people would do were more diverse than in the first summer, and sometimes it was more annoying than others. But yeah, that's about it. I also got that. That's about it for that. Also this year, the second summer, I also got to know better a lot more people than in the first summer. Mostly because like the first summer, I would mostly sometimes like stand in my corner and do my things on my own, and would kind of like rarely talk to others, only if I was like forced. But the second summer, I was a lot more social with others. That's about it, actually. Now about the safari adventure part. I got to experience almost all of the sections. The thing with this place is that some sections are more complicated to watch over than others, mainly because of the animals that are in. For my part, this summer, they would mostly put me at the entrance, and I don't know. Like the thing with this place is that some sections, each section has specific animals to them, and some of these animals could do specific things that were dangerous or annoying. Like some animals would sometimes go into different sections, like while they're not supposed to. Some animals can directly be dangerous to people, mostly in the before last section of the safari. Like the one like the actual last section of the safari is the first one, because the exit is in the same section as the entrance. But the one before that are animals. I think they're like not bucks, but like they're kind of buck. There's some kind of deers that one of them is a female who's also a mother, but who is pretty aggressive against employees. And they even made up a strategy for when she would approach, or when they had to like make her move. Basically, I think that what it was is that it was like, if at this place they were forced to be two over there, just so they can contain her if she does something. And so the thing is that if she's looking at them and that she's like, she has her tongue out like that, they told me that if she has her tongue out, they had to make a decision, or they run to her to scare her, or no. I think the thing is that if she would have her tongue out, they couldn't if they have to move, they couldn't turn their back, because if they would turn their back, she could charge at them and literally walk over them, which can be literally lethal. So yeah, that's it. That's about this. I've never really been over there, mostly because it's dangerous. I understand why now. There's a section where there are camels, and the thing with them is that they're pretty hard to make to move, or to make. It's apparently pretty hard to make them move around, like to force them to go somewhere. Like sometimes they would like stand in the middle of the road because they want to check out the cars, if they have something to give them if they have some food for them. And sometimes they would just stand in the road and cause traffic. So someone would have, this happens with a lot of animals, by the way, it's not just them. That's something that happens a lot over there, traffic. But that's not important. So they have to make them move, but sometimes, I say apparently because I've never been in that section. Like sometimes the camel could just bite your head. Not take it out, just bite it with their mouth. They could steal your things by taking them in their mouth. Like they're apparently it's because they were really annoying. After that, there is one section which has they have some red deers, which are really, really annoying, because the thing with them is that they're a group-based, I think, animal species. So most of the time, there's one of them. When one of them moves, all of the others wants to move as well with it, because I think curiosity. But the thing with this is that sometimes some of them will go in other sections, and then you'll try to make them go away, but all of them will have the reflex to follow the ones who went in the other sections, so all of them will be out, and that's a pain in the ass to get them back in. In one of my last days over there at that summer, we spent, I think, 2 hours looking for one of them, because he got away in another section. But we waited, like, I personally have been waiting 2 hours for them to find it and bring it back. And it was so annoying because I was not patient back then. In that section also, there are gaurs, which are kind of big buffaloes. Not water, just big buffaloes, and they're apparently really dangerous. because they're really territorial. So you couldn't approach them by any means. After that, there was somewhere where pretty interesting. There was a place where there was, no, I think like Nadu. They're kind of a mix of emu and ostriches, but really small. And that's it. They're like I think like their leader is the most aggressive out of them. And at some point around the end, which was a bit sad, one of the birds was like watching over the eggs, but apparently, as they think, when he wasn't watching, the other animal type that was in that section, which is Watusi. You know, the Watusis are the cows with the gigantic horns. Well, apparently the thing that happened was that when he was looking, the Watusis walked over the eggs and destroyed them. And so because of it, the leader, I think banned him from the group. And so basically, whenever that bird would try to come close to the others or to the male, to the leader male, he would literally go after him and make him go away. Sometimes even fight with it when the other bird wants to rebel itself. That's that. In that section, there's also 4 pigs. I don't know their name in English. They're small little pigs that look like boars with fur, boars with orange fur, small little boars. And they're pretty interesting. They're not aggressive by nature, but they can bite, and apparently that hurts a lot. Like the severely injured, I think 2 employees in 2020. I think in the year of 2020, I wasn't there, but yeah, apparently they injured 2 main employees because at some point they wanted to introduce a new member to that small group, but literally the father of that baby wanted to kill her child, and so while the 2 employees were trying to remove the baby pig, the male bite them on the on there, right there. He bite them right there. It was really, I don't know, but he basically bite them there, and they were severely injured by it. And so because of it, that little pig wasn't able to stay with the group, because after the incident, they saw that she wouldn't survive because of this. I don't know why he wouldn't want to kill her daughter, her own baby. Probably because they took her from him at the barn, probably, and then he didn't recognize her as a member or something. I don't know. That's it for that. There's all the cows, the Watusis. One thing interesting about that is that in that group of cows, there was one, I don't know the name for that, the camel. There was one camel with like only 1 bump on its back that was living with that group because, interestingly, when he was born, he was the employees putting him with a group of Watusis. So he grew up thinking that he was one of them, while in actuality, like inside of his brain, he's a Watusi, but on the outside, he's a camel with 1 bump. I don't know the name. So that's about it. After that, there is a section with, I don't know what they call it, the thing in the savannas, like the news, I think, I don't know. The news, there were the rest of the camels with 1 bump. There were also some, they're not goats, but they're like goats, like small white goats with spirally horns. There's this. Nothing that interesting about this, except the fact that the camels are really friendly, most of them, and a lot of the employees are attached to them in some ways, which is really cute. Next section is the savannah, like I said, which contains the giraffes, the zebras, the gazelles, a rhino. There's also a separate enclosure on the side of the road that contains water buffaloes in it, because originally these guys were in the savannah, but the problem was that one buffalo named Raimundo, which I really like, he was really funny, he was really cute. Also, the leader male was, the thing with him was that he has been raised up by humans, not by one of his kinds. So he did not act at all like them. Like, technically he was their leader, but he wasn't acting as a leader. Like, and most of the group knew this as well. So like, most of the time they would just move on their own without him. And he's doing that. The only problem with this is that we aren't allowed to interact with him, because he's big, and the problem with him is that when like, if you try to pin him, he's gonna try to, from his perspective, he's gonna try to like give you a hug, but in reality he can just kill you in one swing of his head. So he's dangerous without even noticing it. So yeah. And in the first section, there are just two types of weird deers that don't really do nothing interesting, except for a male that has been castrated, remove his, and who still thinks that he has one, so he constantly tried to reproduce himself, while in actuality he couldn't do it. And there were also the two elephants who, one was named Carol, and the other one Jano. And yeah, that's actually about it for real, for the animals. Yeah, that's about it. So there you go. And actually, around the end of the summer, I tried to, but the thing is that since I didn't really knew what else I could want to do as a job, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to work there constantly, even though now that I think about it, I see that I don't think I would have been able to do it very well. I asked if I could do full-time, because I wasn't like partial, and they said no, because I was missing some. There were some skills that were missing in how I was doing over there. And at the end, like the whole time after they sent me this, I wanted to know what those skills were, but they never told me about it. So, and fortunately for me, at the end of the work session, I found out what they were. I don't know exactly what they are, but I'm pretty sure that it's the fact that I'm not constantly, like, I was not really able to constantly work at a same beat as all the others. Like, I would start sweating really quickly compared to the others, which to my demise forced me to stay put most of the time. And then forcing the others to do all the work while I was staying there, getting back my breath like an idiot. That's about it for it. I think the thing was that I was not consistent enough. I think I also was not I didn't have an initiative. What this means is that I wasn't able to, like, when someone asked me to do something, I would do it, but when I would finish this, I wouldn't have the initiative to go do something else, or ask to go do something else myself, or ask somebody what else I could do. Instead, I would just finish and go somewhere and wait until someone notices me and just tells me what to do. Having the initiative is that when you do something and you're finished with it, you go do something else by yourself, or you ask someone what you have to do next. I didn't have that at the time. Now I have it because I knew I didn't have it, but before I didn't have it, and now that I think about it, I understand the reasons. In the end, I don't think I would have really liked it to work there in full time. I mean, it would have been fun, like I would have kept seeing people that I kind of love to see over there. But most of the people that I was friend with over there were all still in school, and they all had to go. And in the end, there was only one other person over there that was a friend that we were friends together, and I don't think that would have been enough. So yeah, that's about it for that. Honestly, I personally think I did pretty much all I had to. I said what I had to say. If I missed something, I don't know what I would do about it. Oh no, yes. I have a last anecdote for all of you before I stop. So remember a while ago when I said that there was a reason for why the rhinoceros, whose name is Tony, by the way, it's amazing, for why the rhinoceros was in a separate enclosure from the rest of the savannah, the plain section. Well, no, it's not that. That's not the actual reason, but that's what the thing that happened was literally something to prove that it's a good thing that he's separated from the other animals. So I wasn't there, but just the description from all the others allowed me to visualize this myself. So basically, in the first summer, at some point, I wasn't working that day. It was I think it was a Saturday. So basically that day, during the whole first summer, I personally noticed, but putting all the others noticed that there was one zebra in the group over there that was constantly that had something with the rhino. I didn't know what it was, but whenever the rhino was out, the zebra was constantly staying around the enclosure, walking around the fence of the rhino, looking at him aggressively. In case you didn't know, zebra bites is like they're small horse, so they have freaking teeth that can break your fingers with a bite. That's not related to anything, it's just a fact. So he was constantly roaming around his fence whenever the rhino was out. And I guess it was annoying him. Personally, at first, I thought they were playing or something. But that day, the zebra apparently got under the fence into his enclosure and started biting the rhino, stuff like that. And then out of all odds, the rhino turned around and impaled the zebra with its freaking horn. This is not a joke. I saw because there was a freaking bag of meat inside of in one of the pickup truck. The day later that I worked the day later, and everyone was talking about that. And also, there was another proof was that there was a lot of blood on the grass. Would I have been traumatized if I would have saw this? Probably. I've never seen an animal kill another one in real time. I've never seen this. Basically, what I think happened was that he was really annoyed by the zebra, and he decided to just kill it. What else would he have done? Duh. Was bad. It was bound to happen. About even anyway. So the funniest thing with, well, it's not necessarily funny, but when I told this to my dad, he just couldn't help himself and laugh a lot. So like I told him that, well, when I came back, they kept saying, they told me that after this was done, they took the zebra and like, you know, like me, like the rest of the zebra, and gave him to the lions. The funny thing with technically this makes sense. If you think this is cruel, this makes total sense, because the zebra wasn't dead by any kind of he hasn't died of like the zebra wasn't sick of any thing. Like the zebra wasn't sick. He didn't have any disease. He died on the spot because of the rhinoceros. So the most logical thing to do was, instead of just wasting it, to just give it to the lion instead, because at least then it would have had a good use in the end. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Subscribe, I guess. I don't know when I get the stuff to do proper things. I'm thinking about buying a capture card soon, because I found out that these things aren't as expensive as I thought they were first. So I might buy one, and maybe then I'll finally be able to make something useful out of my YouTube channel. So yeah. Bye.